Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Alex StarCraft here, bringing you guys another StarCraft 2 commentary, and good God, I hope XSplit is catching my microphone. Alright, it looks like it is. Pretty freaking sweet. This is just me finishing up these TLO replays, the pack that I said to myself I would get up a very, very long time ago on YouTube. I just have not gotten around to. How fail of me. But of course, being a TLO replay, who do we have? In the bottom right-hand corner of Shakuras Plateau, it's our blue Zerg player. It is LiquidTLO himself. And in the top left-hand corner, we have I, or something like that. Some ridiculous Grandmaster Korean Terran, probably. And I was thinking recently, I need to rename all of my replays that have TLO versus some random combination of I's and L's to something along the lines of Korean Terran or Korean Zerg, something like that. And then, well, that'll make it so I don't actually have to worry about people not knowing or not wanting to watch. And all of TLO's games tend to go really, really long, good God, but I am pumped for it because they're always entertaining. He's the guy that goes for huge numbers of changelings in every matchup, so far as I can tell. And is just kind of a crazy guy overall, does not do the most standard strategies in the book, but does succeed with whatever he does for the most part. He was the guy doing creep spread before it was cool. He was the guy who inspired Tempo's All I Do Is Stim, because he taught him how to 6-racks, all sorts of crazy stuff like that. Now we do see our Terran player going for a gas after his barracks, which is not standard, might I add. Normally, in today's gameplay, or today's Zerg versus Terran matchup, the Terran player will go ahead, he'll get his expansion, supply depot, barracks, command center, basically. He will not get a gas, because, well, he just wants to macro early on. But this might be some kind of reactor Hellion, or if he soon decides to go ahead and grab some gas, or second gas, it could even be something like Cloaked Banshee or a weird 1-1-1. And TLO, of course, goes for a hatch first, followed by a pool. He did see the gas, very fortunate on the spawn positions for him. He saw it as soon as it went down and as soon as it finished. And did not have to worry about any of those pesky Marines chasing him down. A mule flies in front of my screen, the first one of the game. Welcome to the game. Miss your mule. I hope you enjoy your time mining here at LX StarCraft Mines. And the SCV does see the hatch first for TLO, and he's like, well, that's surprising. Didn't expect that. And there we go. There is the factory going down from our red Terran player. Chances are he's going to build a reactor on this barracks momentarily. And then, well, he's going to switch these off and make him some Hellions. And something that a lot of Terran players seem to think these days, which is kind of silly, frankly, is that Reactor, Hellion, Expand does not work anymore. That is not the case. You just cannot make 4 Hellions and expect to deny complete creep spread or expect to run past queens without taking any damage. But my personal belief is if you do go for a Reactor Hellion Expand as Terran, if you make 6 or 8 Hellions and you just run past the queens, you're going to do a lot of damage, no matter how many queens they have, really. And if they don't have roaches, well, you're going to have a bad time. So, not sure what our Terran player is going to be doing here, but we will be seeing soon. And there is a second command center. TLO scouting back in with the Overlord. Beautiful from him. He's going to see the factory, and he's going to see a reactor on, and he's probably going to be like, well, that was expected. And you see, he is totally ready. He even sees the starport, so it is going to be an expand, followed up by what is most likely going to be a Banshee, because again, that's just what you do. You keep the pressure on the Zerg opponent, force them to be very active with their queens, deny drones, deny creep spread, and stop their third base for as long as possible. And one big reason the Hellion-Banshee combination can be so potent is because of the fact that, well, to defend a third or even a good part of your base with from a Banshee, oh god, the Hellions are just running right past. And see, that is kind of what I'm talking about. If TLO had not gotten that queen there, which, let's be honest, 90% of players would not have gotten that queen there in time, the Hellions would have run right up the ramp. Even there, one lives. Queens do not actually do that much damage, guys. They could have gotten into the main, and even though there's only 2 of them, they could have done some work. And he still has 3, and 3 is still enough to one-shot a drone. He just needs to make sure he is careful with them, and he's definitely slowing creep spread, even if he's not completely denying it here. But what I was saying about the Banshee is the fact that, well, to defend your base properly versus a Banshee with only queens, you kind of need creep. To get creep, you kind of need there to not be Hellion sitting around the entire time harassing you. And the Red Terran bringing the Hellions back and just repairing them, very good idea from him. Just makes it so, hey, I can use these things later, so I'm just going to fix it up. Just have 2 more Hellions, so he's up to 5 now, and this is where the number starts to get a tiny bit scary for Zerg. First Banshee has arrived. Okay, yes, it is the first Banshee. I did not simply fail, and now he's going ahead, he's swapping them off. Going to start Stim on this, going to start a Reactor on that, make Medivacs, going to start Siege Mode on that, and make Tanks. So we do see our Terran player going for a pretty cool opener, something that I've seen One Rax expands into Hellions and Banshees before. I haven't ever really seen it done off of one base, followed up with a slightly delayed expansion, if you know what I mean, aka Reactor Hellion into Banshee. And just like that, though, transitions into a totally standard game, like he'd never done anything out of the ordinary. And see creep spread being denied like a boss. And this is, creep spread is the thing that Terran players have complained about so much lately, that it's impossible to stop. You can't get it out across the map. It's so terrible. And, well, look at that. Our Terran player is going ahead and denying it. He killed a lot of creep tumors. He's going to kill a lot more right now. And TLO still can barely engage this. Even with the Queens, the Banshee does go down, though. The Hellions still being a nuisance. Oh, they're so close to killing them. If he did, oh, some of the Hellions attack the Queens. Oh, if they attacked the Queens, they would have gotten these creep tumors. But TLO so vigilant on that creep spread. And look at his Overlord spread, by the way, too. It's like great blockade. No Terran unit is getting through here without TLO knowing about it. And he is throwing down his 3rd base, which our Terran player is going to go ahead. He's going to see that, and he's going to be like, okay, well, that's a standard timing, and my 3rd is already, well, significantly further than yours. So that is kind of unfortunate for TLO, and you see now the Hellions getting right on top of those Queens, and they could have picked one off if TLO did not have that spine, if he did not pull them back, and the Zerglings trying to surround the Hellions. Now the Hellions are off the creep, so they're going to be in better shape. But he does force them to run back into the Queens, and all the Hellions will go down. So that is the extent of the harass we're going to see from that. And whoa, TLO, I did not quite expect that, but losing a lot less than his opponent in that engagement. So that was definitely good for him, or in that engagement / harass, whatever you want to call it. But in terms of economy, whoa, 66 drones. TLO, while I was busy commentating on everything, TLO was going ham back at his base. He has 2 evolution chambers. He has pathogen glands on the way. His lair already well completed. He has 4 gases, 66 drones. So as soon as this thing pops, he's going to be able to saturate it. Already grabbing his 2 gas and just queuing the drones to go ahead and mine it. I do that too. Just because it's like, well, I should probably not do that, but oh well, I don't have the mechanics to feel like actually not doing it. And TLO with a solid number of units now. We take a look at the army supply, very, very even. TLO up by only 1 right there, right now. He's only up by about 10 on workers, but we do see the income for our Terran player is higher, and that is because of those mules, and that's just kind of how the race works. So definitely good job from our Terran player, just kind of slowing down the economy of TLO as much as he can. But TLO taking advantage instead of ecoing up behind the harass. He was just going ahead and well, he was teching, and oh god, a great fungal from TLO. Is he going to chain it? No, he's not. But he already knows, hey, I did a lot of damage to the Zerglings. That's going to kill medevac energy, and you see, like, it drops pretty dang quickly. So that by the time these guys are all healed, the medevacs are going to be down to like a 1/3 of the energy they were before, half of the energy they were before. And TLO did pick off a few Zerglings, and he still has a infester. I don't know why I skipped the first syllable, waiting to do a fungal, and I'm acting like that's a huge engagement. It's actually just 4 Zerglings running into the Marines. But you can hear me getting piped up or prepped with my voice. 4th expansion is now up for TLO with the Queen already there, so very nice from him. And that is the other nice thing about making those extra Queens early game. You can then later go ahead and just throw them at your expansions. Use them for injecting. TLO throwing out some infested Terran, then goes ahead. He gets right on top of the siege tank, gets a full surround, and totally decimates that tank line. Now, there are a few Marines still alive, but when you get fungled like that, well, it's kind of hard to take out the Zerglings. Now, our Terran player does have an expansion behind this. He doesn't have a whole lot of units, though. This is really what he has right here. And TLO's army is getting larger very, very quickly. He does have a Spire and a Hive. What the heck? I totally missed that on the production tab because I didn't even assume it would be started yet. I assumed it would be in production about right now. But he has a Hive about to complete. That's going to be Greater Spire. His +2 attacks is about to complete. His +2 carapace is on the way, so he even has the upgrade advantage over his opponent on top of his tech and of course his economic advantage. Though our Terran player, 70 SCVs, that's a lot, and that is good on him to just try and keep up. He says, I have mules, but it doesn't mean I can't get less workers than you. or doesn't mean I can't get as many workers as you. And you see him just turtling up a bit right here. He wants to be on 3 base. Maybe going to go for the kind of 200 max and then push strategy. Because, of course, earlier in the game, it did not go super duper well for him, a lot of it. Now, it looks like there was going to be an attempted drop, but TLO so good at that. He's probably going to have the units already in position. And, oh, God, beautiful from TLO. Leaving just a few Zerglings and an Infestor back at his base, moving the Spore Crawler so he can pick off the medevac and do some work even before it gets in. But what I was saying is the reasoning I think the Terran player is going to go for a 200 push is just because of the fact, ooh, beautiful Fungal. Oh, God, TLO. Fungal so good, yes. So the reason he's doing that is because he did some earlier harass, he did a little bit of aggression, and it just really didn't work out for him that well. As a result, any kind of a timing push before 200 supply would not really be in his favor. It'd be in the favor of TLO. Chances are TLO would just crush it and then be even further ahead. So as a result, he's just going to be going ahead and waiting a little bit longer until he can have, well, 200, 200, ramp up his infrastructure a bit, maybe throw down an expansion and push out. But TLO... the risky part, I should say, is TLO is going to have Broodlords by the time he pushes out. Or is he? He has 6 Corruptors on the field right now, and he has the supply. Doesn't quite have the minerals, as a matter of fact, but you see both players' production tabs are blowing up. You actually can't even see everything that's on the Terrans just because of how big it is, because that name panel is in the way. But I think it's pretty, so I'm going to keep it there. So, medevacs are going out. There's a little bit of a skirmish going down here, but TLO being so great using those Zerglings. Now, there is a Spore Crawler. It is going to pick off 1 medevac very, very quickly, so that's already about 6 Marines that don't get out. And, oh god, okay, so one of the Spores goes down, and all the medevac living with just about 24 health. But TLO sending his Zerglings back there. If he just sends his Queen back there, or even a Corruptor, he will be in okay shape. But that is largely just kind of a distraction from what is going on down here. TLO establishing himself, his Spinecrawler wall, establishing his Broodlord line along with those Infestors. All the Zerglings running back home, because that is a common overreaction. I know I do. When I'm Zerg, they're like a drop, and you're like, a drop! And you send all the Zerglings there. Looks like TLO going to be setting up for a flank right now. Some nice splitting from our Red Terran. No Fungal's able to go down yet, and TLO was forced to pull back because he said, holy crap, those siege tanks are going to do so much damage to me before I can even get into the line. Broodlord's pushing forward now, though, and this is where our Terran player needs to be really careful. He needs to protect his Broodlords and make sure to protect his units, and oh god, sicker Fungals could not be had on this day. Broodlord's doing a lot of damage now, forcing an unsiege of the tanks, and he is pushing forward, doing a whole lot of damage right now. Now, we do see, if we look at the resources lost, he is in much better shape than his opponent, and he's ahead economically. 5 bases, 80 drones versus 3 bases with 76, about to be a 4th, but who knows if he'll even last that long. There's a bunch of Broodlords, a bunch of Banelings being made, Corruptors on the way, and a whole bunch of Infestors for support. There should be some Zerglings back home too. Yes, 42 Zerglings on the map. He just has to be really careful. He's trying to engage here because he knows if his opponent goes forward, he can get some wonderful Fungals just like that. And his opponent really won't be able to hit his Broodlords. He can just chain Fungal, and even though this is only 6 Broodlords, they're going to do a lot of damage over the course of those Fungals and those units being held back. So TLO taking a significant advantage in the game right now. He's up by, only... Actually, well, no, he's actually down on supply right now, so I might be lying to you. But microing his Broodlords as best he can, and oh, what the heck, TLO? You don't have a whole lot of Infestors. Now, you do have a good number of Banelings back home. I don't know what happened to your Zerglings, but we see 18 of them on the way, along with 3 Broodlords and more Corruptors. So TLO could get some good Baneling hits. The tanks are not sieged up, but they are going to siege up, so he just kills the tanks with the Banelings, and that works too. Overlord's getting killed. He wants to get off some good Fungals, maybe on the Vikings, but they are spread a fairly good amount. So TLO not looking to have a whole lot of anti-air here, and I know that I declared him having a big lead, but I'm not sure if he still has that. Zerglings swarming in, Corruptors on top of them, Infestors trying to get a good Fungal, and they do get one, get about half the units. The rest of the Zerglings are going to swarm in, and I think they're going to be able to clean it up with their superior upgrades, or I'd assume they are 2-3 compared to 2-2. They do or should have those adrenal glands, though. And that makes, no adrenal glands, but that would make a 20% damage difference, which is huge over the course of even a short little Zergling's lifespan. Now, TLO is going to be going ahead. He's pulling back the Broodlords. He wants to try and preserve those. It's more huge Fungals could get off, but the Infestor is going so far into the army. Huge Baneling hits, though. And I don't know when Thor's came into the mix, but Thor is here. And now the Vikings are going ahead and trying to take down everything that remains, but they're just getting Fungaled, and they're like, it's getting too hot. because there's ghosts piloting these Vikings. They're forced to run away. And TLO now, I would say, looks to have an advantage once more, but we take a look at the army supply. It's not in his favor once more. So I'm not really sure, like, here's the thing. When I look at the army supply, I guess, okay, that's a lot of supply. The Vikings and medevacs by themselves are, what is it? 6 Vikings, 8 medevacs, so that by itself is 28 supply. You eliminate that, TLO is in the lead. So that's my thing, is whenever I look at an army, ooh, wow, TLO setting infestors up here and sniping an expansion. Totally missed that, but totally baller from TLO. And oh god, the infestor gets scanned, and the Terran's going to be like, I see you, and then just kills it. So TLO looks to have an advantage, but that's one error I make whenever I'm playing or casting a Terran. I know for sure, I look at their army, I'm like, that's not that much, because a lot of it is medevacs and Vikings. But you cannot underestimate Vetamax, because this many medevacs will do a lot of damage. The Zerglings going ahead, they're trying to break down these rocks. TLO taking a 6th expansion, and my god, he has been so good denying his opponent's expansion. His opponent is mining off of essentially one base, and it is almost mined out. Oh, good god. And now, oh god, but I forgot the expansion was sniped, so he cannot mine off of either of these. And TLO is gonna go ahead and pull ahead in the income, as we see reflected both gas and mineral. And just like that, he's gonna start building himself a bank, and that bank is gonna allow him to replenish when he engages much more quickly than our Terran player. Now, the other key for replenishing from our Terran, I don't know what that siege tank is doing, but the other key is, what is the Terran player's infrastructure like? He currently has, let's see, 3 starports, 2 factories, 6 barracks. Now, the thing with that is I'm actually not sure how great that's going to be. He can produce, what is that, 8 Marines at a time plus a Marauder. So, I mean, he'll be in okay shape, but he's not going to be able to remax dearly like TLO will. And now we see TLO just sending in little packs of Zerglings. He says, hey, I can do some damage because you don't have a planetary or units here. That is pretty freaking sweet. And he is just probably going to be making a bunch of Broodlords back home, making a bunch of Corruptors for right now, and that is, of course, to deal with the Vikings. Because well-placed Fungals plus some Corruptors equals dead Vikings. That is right, guys. You got it. Dead Vikings. Nidus Swarm going down, too. I'm just missing everything in the production tab, but I'm very glad I did see this, and he's going to see the Nidus Swarm. Our Terran player is going to hear the sound, and he's going to be like, oh, crap. You see he instinctively heads back towards here, and that has to do with the Zerglings, but at the same time, Zerglings and Banelings coming up here, and oh, God, TLO, if only you didn't waste your energy. Oh, God. 40 workers killed for TLO. Granted, that's cumulative, but that was a lot of dead Banelings. Now it's Marines versus infested Terrans, and more Banelings trying to get made, but no, the Nidus and Banelings go down. But TLO, all of a sudden, behind on army still, because his worker supply is like 60 ahead of his opponent. But we see his economic advantage is so enormous. His opponent is mining off of one base. This expansion was killed. Zerglings are in the main base, killing the infrastructure. This almost got killed, and so many workers died. We're going to have to go back, and we're going to have to watch that. TLO denying all the expansions, because he knows the only way he could be in some trouble here is if his opponent gets one of these and just turtles up behind the rocks on the high ground with siege tanks and all sorts of ridiculousness. But even if that happened, I don't know if it would quite work. He has 10 Broodlords on the field with 2-2 upgrades. Wow, you rarely see upgrades that good on air units these days. 3-3 on the Zerglings. No adrenal glands still, so not really sure if there's a reason for that. Might have just forgotten it. Might see 3-3 start at any time, and I believe that might have been a chitinous plating that was just completing. Is there Ultraless Cavern on the map? That's the big question. If there is, I don't know where it is. He put it in like a really weird spot if there is one. I could have sworn I saw chitinous plating, but it may also have just been +3 carapace. And now we have a fleet of Vikings for our Terran player, a bunch of Marines, still only with 2-2 though, and that is a big slip up for a Terran player. I think he could afford them, and that's one of those things where, oh gosh, Baneling's being dropped on the Marines, and they got a fair few kills, but I'm not sure if that was quite worth it, but they forced a stim out of every single Marine. And there's actually Zerglings in here, and they're still just killing everything, and that was actually fairly anticlimactic, just because of the fact that, well, there was a huge battle that could have happened with all of this versus all of this, but the Rent Terran player was just getting frustrated dealing with all of the damage TLO was doing, and he was like, I've probably lost at this point. So he does go ahead and he leaves. Now, where in the game was that Baneling hit on the Marines? Okay. So that was after the Nidus was killed, like the first time maybe. I feel like there's another Nidus worm. No, that was before there was a Nidus worm. So we're just going to go ahead. We're going to fast forward. And there's the Nidus about to go up. Come on. Come on, Nidus. Come on. There it is. So that's about to go up. And let's just watch the workers killed tab. It's going to be glorious. We have 16 workers killed at this point. He's constantly killing more down here. Keep that in mind. Watch. 16 workers killed. And then... oh, God. And I was thinking, if only he hadn't wasted that on Infested Terrans, he would have had the fungals to be able to do it. But that is TLO's game. He's doing, I think so far in the games I've casted 6 games. I think he's... no, this is 7. So he's 6-1. Beautiful play from TLO. I'm going to be bringing you more of the replays in just a second, even on the live stream and on YouTube. So stay tuned, guys. We'll be back with some more in just a minute.